All right, folks. So in today's video, we're going to go over a couple of different things. One, how I set up my raised beds. Second, what are we planning for the spring? It's spring in Florida for some of you folks that are still freezing out there up north. And we're going to just kind of go over a list of what I'm going to be putting in this bed, how I'm going to use my spacing, and how much food you could pack into a 4x8 bed. Now, one thing I just want to touch on real quick is in the beds that you guys saw me, I'll put the video up here if you haven't seen that video yet where I built these beds. I did add a couple of things. I did add 5 more bags of soil to both beds. If you guys have more questions, please put those down in the comments. I love to answer those and help you folks out. The planter blocks I did get from Home Depot. You can also find them at Lowe's and kind of a lot of the stores where you can buy, landscaping stuff like that. I also ended up putting some metal rods down on each side. It was suggested to me by several other folks. So I pounded in some, they're like metal rods that go down in there. Not rebar. I don't like to use rebar. I use these I want to say gardening stakes, just metal gardening stakes. Anyways, so let's kind of go over what we're going to be growing for this spring. So I'm not going to get into the specifics of everything because we'll be here all day. But I kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what I'm putting into the garden and why. We're going to talk about the pollinators that we're going to be putting in there. Also the pest repellents, the bugs, the plants that are great companion plants to put with other plants to help either enrich nitrogen into it or protect the plants from, let's say, aphids and all the type of nasty bugs that you usually have to deal with during your gardening. So let's start off with what everybody else grows. And we're going to be growing 2 different types of tomatoes. And if you guys are curious, I can get more detail about it in a follow-up video as we start watching the plants grow. Because we have 2 beds. We're going to be working on 2 other beds. I think for the spring, we're going to work on specifically these 2 beds, and then we're going to add the other 2 beds in our fall gardening. Anyways, enough of me rambling on. So we're doing 2 types of tomatoes, 2 types of bush beans. We're going to be looking at 2 types of basil, chives, asparagus, peppers. I think there's 3 or 4 types of peppers. I know some people you don't want to put your peppers close. I don't personally care if my peppers cross-pollinate or whatnot. All the peppers I grow are usually sweet or sweet to mildly hot. And if they cross-pollinate, I enjoy it. I like to see what happens and what the outcome is. We're going to be also adding oregano. We're going to be adding 2 different eggplants. A lot of you guys know that. I think it's called the Ichiban or the Japanese eggplant. That's going to be one of them in there. I think the Black Beauty is the other. Beets, radishes, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, and onions. For some of the other things that we're adding there for pest repellent, of course, the basils in there. We're doing 2 different types of basils, like I said. We're also doing lavender, marigolds, and then we're also doing some sweet, I think it's called sweet asalum. It's this kind of little plant here. Every time we go over there to either Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, or a local nursery, or wherever we happen to go to buy plants, and some of you folks may ask me, where did you get all these things? Because these are kind of starts per se, right? I've got these all over the place, from Tractor Supply to Home Depot to Lowe's. We check everywhere for the best looking plants to find for our starts. The other bed is going to be a whole different ball game, and I'll talk about that towards the end because that's going to be another additional video with all heirloom seeds brought to you by a specific company. Anyways, I also have a delphinium that has this blue color right here. Bees see in ultraviolet, so that like the reds, the blues, anything that smells really good. We're adding lavender, also brings bees in there. We're this red salvia I have in here. I also have a purple salvia in there, and let me see what else. I think we might even have some spinach floating around in here. I know we got the broccoli, Brussels sprouts. I'm trying to think. I'm probably going to miss a few things, folks, just because there's a lot. But as you see, as we put this together, you guys will see a lot of the plants that we're going to stick in. And if I did miss anything, like I said, some people might ask about the beans. We're going to use the stringless green pod beans by Burpee. And we're also going to be looking at the Bush Lake the 274s. And for my beans, this is a pea and bean booster. Ironically enough, it works really, really well. Some local gardeners here have been working with me because they know I'm new to gardening over the last couple of years, and I've been taking my viewers on this journey. Anyways, let's kind of get into, I'm going to show you, I'm going to throw this up on the screen right now. And basically what this is this is a grid. So you can see how I'm going to be planning it. It breaks everything down to by 12 by 12 grids in this 4x8 bed. So everything has a spot and a place, and there's a reason why that I have it set up this way, is so that I know exactly where things are going. I know where the sun is kind of be passing by, what's going to get shade first, what's going to have the most sun, and so on and so forth. And you'll see how I lay out my garden here in a few minutes as we start putting these plants in. The soil has settled, everything has been raked, everything has been cleaned. It's ready to go, folks. So let's get these plants in the ground. All right, so first what we're going to do is we're going to lay out our plants. Some people will use a spade to dig holes and stuff like that, but I prefer to use my hands. I like to get in the soil in case I feel anything weird or oddball, but I like to use my hands. It's just a fun thing for me. I like getting in there and breathing some of this good bacteria and stuff that's in the soil. It's just a healthy thing to do, and gardening in general is just healthy. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and lay out my plants, and I will speed through that, and then we'll kind of show you how I'm setting it all up, and then we'll go from there. Again, I probably will miss things, being that I'm only human. If any steps that I missed that you guys want more information on, please drop a comment or give me an email. Either or, I would truly appreciate that, hearing back from you. To kind of give you guys an idea, I don't know if you guys can see here, so I have marks every 12 inches on these boards right here, and as well over here. As you can see here, I have marks on this board. So I know some people will use a grid pattern, which is, I don't have to use string, I just use it in my mind. But as you can see here, I'm doing a tomato plant, one of my bush beans, another tomato plant, and then another bush bean. And usually I will use 3 of these, and I haven't planted them yet. Usually go about 1 inch down. I usually plant at least 3 or 4, and then I'll thin them out down the road as the seedlings pop up, and then I'll know for sure which are the strongest plants and kind of thin that out. Same thing with those guys over there, and then these of course are 2 plants here. Usually we try to find heirloom based bonnie plants. If not, we have used hybrids in the past. With these guys here, we're going to go 1 inch deep. So I'm going to put a little hole right here, drop these seeds in here, and then cover that. So we have our tomatoes planted and our beans in between our 2 tomato plants. I like the beans because they re-enrich the nitrogen issues and stuff like that. They just work great together. And some people will say sometimes things are too close, but I think 12 by 12 is good enough for most plants. And you want to try to pack as much food as you can in here. So as you see, we're going to continue to go with this grid pattern all the way down with all of our plants. And I'm going to go ahead and do a speed version of me putting all these plants in, and we'll go from there as we lay them out. All right, folks, so now you can see how I have kind of everything laid out before I go full on planting mode, just so I make sure I have enough room for everything that I'm doing. Certain things need to be sowed directly into the soil, different types of onions and garlic, or aka chives and whatnot, radishes, carrots. I have some of my pollinators in here as well, mixed in here. That's a pak choi, and everything is just nice and even. It's going to look good once I get everything planted, and to kind of give you a bird's eye view of how everything is going to look, and kind of give you an idea how everything is going to play out. All right, so let me get to putting everything in the ground, and then we'll follow up. And then, of course, like I said, this is just going to be kind of like a quick video to get everything in the ground and going. But then after the fact, we could talk about this. And also I implore you to drop some comments and stuff below. What are you guys growing this year? What do you got going on? Have you started your gardening yet? Or are you still in the deep freeze? Because here in Florida, as you see, it's time to get our plants in. I'm actually a few weeks behind. And also, one thing I did want to mention is when you're planting, I'm assuming most people know, you want to do it late in the evening where the sun has gone down. I don't know if you guys can see that over there. The sun is pretty much gone. So that way, once I water everything in and stuff like that, it's just a lot less stress for the plants itself until tomorrow morning. All right, folks, so we got our radishes, our carrots, and some onions in this area here. And then you can see how it looks pretty well organized. The only other things that I had to sow in, of course, were the beans down here. I got beans there and beans there, and we'll wait for those to pop. Like I said, it should be a pretty interesting year. This is my first year using raised beds. I've done a lot of research in regards to what I'm going on in here. We'll see what happens. Some things may work, some things may not, but it's always fun to see, you know, the errors and trials and tribulations per se. I might even stick a couple more marigolds floating around in some free space, but I kind of want to see how the garden develops because we have so much in here. But I honestly, from my perspective, I think it looks good. I'm losing daylight. As you can see, a beautiful Florida sky as always. It's just gorgeous out there. Love the way that looks. And then, of course, growing your own food, folks. Growing your own food. Anyways, I look forward to hearing your questions and comments and what you think, what mistakes I may have made or not made, or any suggestions, things like that. I try to space things out as best as I could, and I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, we got our pollinators. We also got some lavender, all different types of things like the salvia. We have some basil, some chives. We got all kinds of things floating around in this garden. We'll see how it develops and watch this thing grow over the next few months. And then, of course, we'll also be doing some harvest. All right, folks, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and water everything in. Probably tomorrow morning I will be laying some straw down to retain the moisture and protect the soil and stuff like that. And then we'll also, I have a video coming out hopefully next week in regards to survivalseeds.com have sent me a bunch of heirloom seeds that we're going to be putting in this other bed over here. So stay tuned for that. We'll be watching the garden grow. It should be a lot of fun, folks. And again, I truly appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Remember, folks, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll see you guys in a rebound, and God bless.